Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. 2 weeks ago we created a community post asking what you guys wanted to watch, or what you guys wanted us to watch, what you wanted to watch too, but it wasn't worded that way. So one of the things that came across our table was Why America Sucks at Everything by David Cross, and this title like sparked something in me. And as a patriotic American, I want to know why America sucks at everything. I want to know, because I have my like nitpicks, things that I think America really sucks at. But this is also my home. David Cross will be able to validate some of my own opinions or give me a different perspective on something I didn't even think about through his opinions and through his observations. Now, I will say one thing. This is David Cross from Arrested Development, which is where I know him from. He's also a comedian, right? So you guys, let's hop on over the video and let's get started.
America is the greatest country on earth.
Hell
the
yeah,
strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year. 235 if you go to public school. 335 if you go to a Christian academy. We're told that Americans have the best lives of any people in the world. That we have low taxes, small government, and the highest living standards on earth.
No.
And most inaccurately, that we're the freest. Well, it is partly true. America is the richest country, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. It's really hard to comprehend just how rich we are. We have 18 million people who are millionaires. American households own about $100 trillion in wealth, an almost unthinkable amount of money. Okay, so America is the richest country ever. But there's a curious paradox. Most Americans actually have a much worse standard of living than people who live in poorer countries like Germany or Finland or Britain. But how can that be? That shouldn't make any sense. Well, here's the shitty deal. Americans get significantly worse services because our tax dollars don't fund them. So of course our services are worse, and thus we enjoy less happy lives than people who live in the aforementioned countries. Not that difficult a concept to conceive, really. You get what you pay for, said the cartoon dog to the other cartoon dog. And while you might think the reason American tax dollars don't fund as many services is because we pay lower taxes than other countries, that's not even true. When you add federal, state, local, and sales taxes and include other costs and services that our taxes don't cover but other countries' taxes do, like our uniquely high health insurance premiums, you'll find that Americans actually give away more of their wages than most of the developed world. For example, in Canada, for a married worker with 2 kids, all of the previously mentioned costs combined, from taxes to health insurance premiums, make up only 11% of the average wage. In the UK, it's just about 26%. Meanwhile, once you tack on the cost of our outlandish health insurance premiums, you're spending a whopping 43% of your paycheck.
Ow.
That's more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway.
It's true.
Americans have a lower life expectancy than people in Lebanon or Cuba. And in the Mississippi Delta and much of Appalachia, life expectancy is lower than in Bangladesh. In fact, in 2017, the United Nations sent a commissioner to West Virginia to document what he saw, and he described, quote, third world conditions of absolute poverty, unquote. We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board. So why is healthcare so expensive? Because it's so complicated. You have to look for in-network physicians, schedule an established care appointment, beg for coverage from your insurance company that couldn't care less about you, and that's if you're lucky enough to have good insurance. Compare that to Britain and all of those other evil, socialist-like countries where it's simple.
American healthcare is a joke.
Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. That's it. I'll repeat that.
I don't know how the health system is in Europe. I mean, sounds great, but like, is it really? Like, is there a lack of doctors over there? Is there, you know, I've never been. I have no idea. I've only experienced this hell that is the American healthcare system, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know for sure. I can't say because I've obviously not lived in another country. I'm pretty sure that I don't know if I read it or if I was talking to somebody from Canada, but I think in Canada, like one downfall is it can take a while to get in to see a doctor.
Yeah.
And obviously if it's like emergency or something, I think that's different, but you might, if it's something that's not non-emergent, you might wait a month, which is the same case here. And sometimes that's for stuff that should be considered more emergent, like heart issues and things like that. But I also think just the cost of it.
Yeah.
You know, like I was paying $600 a month for insurance and they didn't cover anything. So like, what is the point? It's just,
Yeah.
I just don't have
And then-
anything good to say.
And then if you don't have insurance, you still get taxed and penalized, you know, for not having insurance. And some young people are thinking like, is it more cost effective to just pay that penalty
Yeah.
than to pay like out of every paycheck these health premiums that you have for your health insurance?
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And then you get those jobs, you know, like my current job that has insurance that is nobody accepts. So you're
Yeah.
basically might as well not have it because you have to pay everything out of pocket anyway. And it's just, I just think it's
But
ridiculous.
I don't know what the solution is, because I think Americans have capitalism and Americans are too greedy. So like if like the government today said, hey, we're going to go to socialized medicine, I think every single doctor would quit their job. I think they'd be like, I'm not making my $250,000 or $500,000 a year. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just going to retire. And then what? I don't know, you guys.
I mean, COVID lost a lot of doctors and nurses anyway because they were having to get vaccinated and a lot of them didn't want to. And I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I've read articles about people that got these ridiculous hospital bills after insurance.
Yeah, like soul crippled. It's like, I'd rather be dead.
Yeah, you
Then have
literally
to
are
pay
paying
this.
it off your entire life. And then I've read ones that are like, they got billed for things and then they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
I literally read an article about this man that got surgery and he was charged for like a scalpel and this and that. And then he fought them tooth and nail. And he's like, if you're going to charge me $300 for a scalpel, I want you to give me that scalpel that you used. If I'm paying that money for it,
It's mine.
it's mine.
Now. Yeah, no shit.
And that's the thing is it's,
In what world is a scalpel worth that much? You can go buy one right now on Amazon for like
you could
$10.
buy a case of them for
All right, let's go.
Hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. And here's the best part. Even though Britain offers healthcare for free, their system is actually a lot cheaper to run than ours. Per capita healthcare spending in the US is almost 3 times what it is in Britain, and almost 5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare. But the free market is more efficient, you screech. But in America, private systems often aren't efficient at all. Private drug companies have an incentive to charge whatever they can get away with for pharmaceuticals. In Canada, a carton of insulin costs about $20. In the
No
US,
way.
it costs $300. And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as possible too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI scan in the US was $1,119, but it was only $215 in Australia. Spain, about $181. And our healthcare system is so inefficient that we spend over 1/3 of our cost on administration. The United States spends significantly more on administration than we spend on preventative or long-term healthcare.
They gotta figure
That's
out how
just
to process it.
not smart. Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive, you say, but that's the cost of having the freest freedom in God's favorite country. Well, guess what? Medical procedures that are totally free in Britain, like giving birth, cost tens of thousands of dollars in the United States. I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid going to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do.
Yeah.
With shoddy
they
or
get really sick and
non-existent
die
health
'cause they can't
insurance,
pay for it.
Americans will wait until their conditions force them into the emergency room where treatment is far more expensive. Again, not a smart system. Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying. Susan Finley, a 53-year-old Walmart employee in Colorado, got pneumonia and took 1 day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows. So of course, Walmart's gonna Walmart, which they did by firing her. Without her job, she lost her nominal health care coverage, she struggled to find new work, and after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment.
Oh, it's terrible.
When Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple, life-saving treatments can cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if they don't have really good insurance, they're forced to take on medical debt. Tens of millions of Americans owe medical debt, often into the tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, in a country like Britain or Norway, medical debt is almost unheard of. But hey, that's why GoFundMe is such a critical component of American healthcare. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. I'll repeat that. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills.
It's
America
true.
is such a
How many of
strong,
those have you seen on
powerful, rich,
Facebook?
and great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are
Like
free
insulin and
in the
EpiPens.
rest of the developed
I can't
world.
tell you how many stories I've read about that.
But hey, that's just healthcare. Americans get terrible deals wherever you look. Let's take work, for example.
Oh, this is gonna
Americans
hurt.
work longer hours than people in any other rich country in the world, and that's not because they enjoy sleep deprivation and not seeing their families for days at a time. It's because they don't want to starve, or freeze, or die. See, America has the least generous job support programs, the least generous family benefits, and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country. It's one of the only countries on Earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations. It doesn't even help provide paid time off for parents who just had a child.
I was going to say, or maternity
And it's
leave.
not coincidental that we're also one of the most hostile countries to workers' rights. America has one of the lowest unionization rates in the entire world. Maybe this deprivation,
Their right to
our
work.
refusal to give people the means to lead a good, dignified life commensurate with how rich our country is, can explain a bit of what we've seen in the United States over the last few decades. Fraying communities, rising rates of depression and suicide, huge numbers of death from drug overdoses. These so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, they're one big reason why American life expectancy has actually started to decline over the last few years. And with such poor conditions, it's not a surprise that poverty is so rampant in the United States. America devotes a smaller percentage of spending on social welfare than any other industrialized economy because, say it with me, socialism is evil. It's evil. Go to Denmark and try telling those happy, healthy families enjoying their paid vacation that their system of government is evil. Guess what? I guarantee they'll know you're an American. But I digress. America...
Yes! Hell yeah!
I don't think socialism is as bad. I don't think our government's willing to relinquish the power and money that, because I mean, they're all the politicians are lining their pockets with lobbyists and people who are like, you can't tell me Johnson & Johnson was like, hey guys, COVID's about to happen. Put your stock in us. You know what I mean? Like, they made so much money off, like, it's stupid. So I think that these companies, these healthcare providers, like these insurance companies, drug manufacturers here in America are literally profiting off of us to the point where they can't do socialized medicine because they really run America.
Mm-hmm.
The largest economy in the world is being ran by healthcare, you know. Johnson & Johnson, big tycoon companies, Walmart, you know, Disney. All right. I digress.
also has the highest rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me, especially since such a tiny fraction take as much of your money for themselves and their families as you will let them. All the while, both parties smile and shake hands. Across every single metric,
I feel
no
like that
people
guy.
accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government. The most expensive healthcare system for the worst health outcomes. more money taken from workers for the highest rate of child poverty. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have fewer miles of high-speed rail than Uzbekistan. We are the greatest country in the world, yet we have the most people in prison of any country, and the highest incarceration rate as well, and a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan. America is bad at everything because instead of choosing to make life better for people through a public healthcare system or more generous childcare policies or better public transit or programs that allow people to spend more time with their families, American law is designed and crafted to protect a class of parasitical middleman industries. Instead of using a proportionally tiny piece of the massive amount of the wealth in this country to make people's lives healthier and happier, most of our elected leaders are, and have been for generations, engaged in a massive project of looting, gently and lovingly guiding as much money as possible from working people into the pockets of the well-connected and the ultra-rich. Think about that as we start hearing about the inevitable rise in homelessness, poverty, starvation, and sickness that will occur during these coming months and years in the greatest, strongest, richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth.
Ouch.
I'm David Cross for the Gravel Institute.
Gravel. I thought this was gravel.
Well, and I like that he made the point of, you know, incarcerations and stuff, because that's the thing is, like, not only are we the highest, like he said, but so many other countries focus on rehabilitation, and they don't do that here. It's just like, go in, do your time. We have so many people that are reoffenders, and I've like watched videos on places like Denmark and Netherlands and stuff that they're like sole focus on rehabilitating. So these people get in there, they get rehabilitated, they never end up there again because they completely change.
Yeah.
And we're just like, here you go.
Good luck.
See you in a couple months when you get out.
Yeah, exactly. See you soon. Bye. Yeah. You know, I think about, I wonder, I mean, this has been going on for generations now, with America. Even to the point where the way we laid out our cities in a grid formation was to benefit developers and to make more money off of living, right? And a housing. Because that's one thing, is you'll always need a place to live, somewhere to eat, and somewhere to get treatment for medicine, right? So, or illness. I don't want to be like crazy and think like conspiracy theory, but I feel as though there are some charts or there's some metrics or there's something that like politicians know that we don't know as Americans.
Oh, for sure.
And I think about like the rise and fall of empires. Like you had the Roman Empire, you had the Byzantine Empire, you had the Mongolian Empire, all these great civilizations in history that were at the peak and pinnacle for so long that you didn't think could fail, and then they fail. And then they're just like blurps in history throughout. And you would think that like in this sophisticated, technologically advanced, you know, time in our history, could that ever happen where a great dynasty falls? And I'm wondering if they're like, let's soak up as much money and live the most prosperous lives for us and our family. I wonder if they know something that we don't, and they're like, you know, let's just take it on in. Because no one could watch a video like this and not think differently. Like, yeah, why? Like, how can you watch a video like this and still think our system was good? Like, why wouldn't politicians or just people in general be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this hurt watching this.
I think I obviously love my country. I love America. I think there's so many things that are so ass backwards and just outdated and just need to change. And I think they've been that way for a long time. And I think it's really sad that they're still this way.
But there's a problem where you can't have a discussion about this with reasonable people anymore because it's so politicized that like, oh, you're a liberal scumbag if you talk about socialism. I'm like, what? Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Like, can we just like talk it out and like see where it would be beneficial? And they would rather put labels and tear us apart about things that are like common sense. Like, hey, we could just talk this out. Maybe there's pieces of capitalism that make sense. Maybe there's pieces of socialism. But if you even talk about socialism, you're a fucking liberal scumbag. And capitalism is the wholehearted American, red-blooded Republican. It's like, come on now.
Yeah, I think there's certain things that just I don't know necessarily try, but I think there's certain things that divide Americans. And instead of coming together to fix these massive, massive issues that our country has, like you said, they're just like, oh, you're going to say that. Well, you're a liberal. Oh, well, you must be for this person. And oh, you're a Biden supporter. And like all this, can you just honestly,
yeah,
that's not the issue. I don't care if you're Republican, Democratic. I don't give a shit. Like that solves absolutely
no
nothing.
problems. Yeah, because we're so consumed with these labelings, and then we tear down one another rather than just like, hey, can we talk about this and
Let's
come up with a
together,
solution?
yeah, and come up with a solution.
Holy shit.
Common sense to me, but
yeah. So I think that there's things that we need to be discussing, and politicians, unfortunately, until there's term limits on senators, not just presidents, there's really nothing you could do. Because then you'll just have politicians that are in it for 50, 60 years who are literally fucking vegetables at 80 years old, still working. You can't talk to them because they're so entrenched in this parasitic, corporate greed environment where, like, of course, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson wants to siphon all the money it can for its shareholders and for itself, because that's how business goes.
greed.
All right, you guys, that's our time. Thank you so much for watching. Leave down in the comments below what you thought. What did you think about our opinions? Are we in the same boat?
Our rants.
Our rants? And let us know if you found this interesting, or if you hated it. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.